Hello, this is Ed Hamler with your World in Review. The recent material presented on this website over the weekend has made clear that behind the terror tactics used by the British financial empire, like the Standard & Poor's downgrade, is an act of aggression and willful intent to destroy the United States and our people, and we won't talk about it in any other terms. This terrorism of our people will continue unless we look at it in this way, not as some financial phenomena, and we must fight back to overthrow this system and those who are servants of it, like President Barack Obama. It should be clear by now that this entire thing was orchestrated largely to establish Obama as the dictator of the United States of America. In the same way, an orchestration occurred to put Adolf Hitler in power under the guise of an emergency decree. This policy and similar policies that are tended to terrorize our people have operated since no later than 2007, when the financial system blew out then, and we were terrorized by claims that the sky will fall to scare us into bailing out Wall Street and the London banks. We bailed them out then in the midst of a mortgage crisis they created, and our people found themselves jobless and homeless. When the bailout failed and the banks kept doing the things that blew out the system in the first place, we started printing money and bailing them out even more with quantitative easing. Guess what we got? Hyperinflation, especially in food. And now the Congress has accepted the terms given by these ratings agencies and Obama, raising the debt ceiling. And now we've got a super Congress which just nullified Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution and has made Obama and his super Congress the reigning fascist government. Now that's what we're dealing with here in the United States, and the environment of terror continues in an effort to scare us further into submission. What's more is that the Federal Reserve is planning to meet tomorrow about this entire situation, and what's looming about right now is a newfound push for another bailout in the form of quantitative easing Part 3. Now, while these scare tactics continue, the truth is, as President Franklin Roosevelt might say if he were alive today, we have nothing to fear but another day with Barack Obama in office. This is the fight that LaRouche PAC has been waging and catalyzing since last year and earlier. And it should be as clear as day that unless you start with that fact that Obama must go, we can't talk about jobs, we can't talk about health care, Social Security, we can't talk about any kind of future with this guy in office. And that's the only movement for change that exists, and you must join that movement if there's going to be a future. Now, some are catching on to this. Today, among the growing opposition that exists right now to Obama, Kentucky State Senator Perry Clark made an open call for President Barack Obama to step down and resign, and that Congress must pass Glass-Steagall immediately. Today, he said, "My fellow citizens, after much reflection on the passage of last week's debt ceiling and austerity legislation in Washington, I've decided that enough is enough. This legislation is brazenly unconstitutional, and I hereby call for a series of emergency actions to undo the damage, beginning with the resignation of President Barack Obama." President Obama was at the center of instigating this legislation, and once he affixed his name on the bill, he crossed the line. Many members of Congress have since denounced the bill, and other national leaders have pronounced it unconstitutional. Is it necessary to go further? I am joining with American statesman Lyndon LaRouche in calling for the president to step down or face impeachment. As we come into this challenge to get rid of Barack Obama before it's too late, if we face this threat head on and remove Obama immediately, you'll find that we still have the potential right now to create a bright future, even at this critical point. This week on this website, we'll be presenting material that will define for you the potential future of this country and the world as a whole. In defining mankind, as the only willfully creative and immortal species we know of, and its implications. Tomorrow, Lyndon LaRouche himself will weigh in on this issue, so stay tuned, because those are the kinds of big issues that confront mankind as a whole right now, while very small men like Barack Obama stubbornly stand in the way. So for now, a section from a joint statement called The Transatlantic Call for an Emergency Solution to the Present Global Breakdown Crisis, written by Lyndon and Helga LaRouche and Jacques Cheminade, should be enough for you to get a glimpse into the kind of future orientation and the pathway to the future that would immediately follow a post-Obama world.
Within hours of President Obama's removal from office through impeachment or resignation, or through the invoking of the 25th Amendment, Section 4, providing procedures for a president's removal from office if he is no longer mentally or physically competent to serve, the Congress could convene to pass legislation reinstating the Glass-Steagall separation of commercial banks from the brokerage and insurance sectors. Such a bill has already been introduced into Congress by Marcy Kaptur in the form of H.R. 1489, which already has significant support on a bipartisan level. A minimum of $17 trillion in Wall Street gambling debts, foisted on American taxpayers, would be thus charged back. With that gambling debt removed from the federal government ledgers, Congress could immediately proceed to issue federal credit for vitally needed infrastructure projects like the North American Water and Power Alliance that would immediately create millions of productive jobs. America can begin a process of physical economic recovery, setting a standard for similar action in Western Europe. The transatlantic region can reverse the otherwise irreversible collapse into a new dark age, but only by taking these measures. The unavoidable first step is the removal of President Obama from office in the immediate days ahead. The overwhelming majority of American citizens are demanding this action now. A vast majority of citizens of the nations of Western Europe are demanding the same things and are calling for a change in leadership. Now is the time for action.